series for Attack the Horde. Okay, so now we're going to get our character in the game and running around. So I'm going to start by going into the act classes. I'm going to search for a mobile placeable pawn, and I'm just going to drop that into our scene, right clicking. I'm just going to drop that straight into the scene. There we go. Okay, cool. So now I'm going to select this object, press F4 to open up the properties, and I'm going to attach the skeletal mesh that we've just brought in and set up to our skeletal mesh property. Okay, there we go. Next I'm going to import the anim tree, selecting the anim tree in the content browser and dropping that in there. And then I'm going to go down to where it says anim sets, there it is, and drop my anim set into there as well. Okay, cool. So just a few little variables here so I can choose my health. Just going to look at the collision box for it. As you can see, it's a little bit small. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger, make it fit the character a little bit more. You should be able to see it. If you can't see it, by the way, just press Alt-C and that should show collision. And I'm just going to rotate it around so it's facing the right direction. There we go. Cool. So now what I'm quickly going to do is I'm just going to create a floor for our character to run around on. We'll go more into the collision a bit later on, but for now I'm just going to create a blocking volume for our level. Okay, cool. So now I'm going to right click on the volumes and click blocking volume, and now I should have a blocking volume to work with. So I'm going to start by opening up Kismet, and I'm going to plug in a level loaded, right click event level loaded, and then I'm going to set camera target. That's in new action camera target, and I'm also going to put in a toggle, which is right click again, action, toggle, and toggle input. I'm going to set up my run speed, which is going to be 4, and I'm going to name that run. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is go down to the new action, go down to mobile and clear input zones, and this will remove the default input zones that are at the start of a normal mobile UDK game. Right, so what I've done quickly is turn off the default player using the toggle input, which I'm going to attach the player to. Once I have a camera in my scene, I'll be able to set the camera target. Now I'm going to go into the act classes and drop a camera into our scene, and I'm going to position that right behind the player. Now this isn't going to be the camera used for the actual player, this is going to be used to get the location without taking in any of the rotation data for the player. Rotation data for the camera. So I'm just going to attach this camera to our player. I'm going to do a hard attach and ignore base rotation. Now I'm just going to shift and drag out to create another camera. This is going to be the one that we'll be viewing from. I'm going to turn off ignore base rotation, and I'm going to attach this to the camera that we set up before. Now a good little trick is to click on the eye icon, which is at the top here, and clicking on the camera, and it will show you the point of view, and we'll be able to move the camera around, position it to how we want it to look. That looks nice. Okay, I'm going to unclick off the eye button, and I'm going to select the object again, go into its properties, and now I'm going to just click on the little lock button at the top so I can select other objects while still in this camera's properties, and I'm going to attach the camera to the base object. So finally I'm just going to untick constrained aspect ratio. This will mean that it will be full screen instead of having a 16:9 output. Okay, so now I'm going to set the camera as my target, and so now I'm going to set my camera as the camera target, and I'm going to input the variable player into my target. I'm just going to check into my world properties and game info, make sure it's set to simple game, that's fine. Okay, cool. So now we're ready to add our first input zone. So I'm just going to create one here by going to the actions, mobile, and add input zone. I'm just going to create a remote event to keep things nice and tidy. I'm just going to name this one left stick. That'll be fine. And I'm going to add the mobile input zone. Now here we've got all the different options. Now we want a joystick for ours. And I'm just going to get this set up so we can see it, and then I'll move on to getting it in position and making sure it's in space. You can see here that if you want to put a texture on it, you can drop one in here. There's a few other little drop down menus. Our main ones that we're going to be using is rendering and bounds. Bounds lets us set up how big the object is on the screen. Okay, so I'm just going to set this right in the middle of the screen, so 0.5 and 0.5 on the X and Y. And now I'm going to go to new action, event, activate remote event, and I'm going to hook this up to my clear input zones. So it runs this program after I've cleared the input zone, so I'm not removing the new inputs that I've just created. And I'm just going to control this control setup, and paste that into the event.